What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports, and I'm back to you guys with another video. And this video, I'm here with my NFL Mock Draft 3.0 full first round, Super Bowl edition. So, before I begin, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. I also upload XFL videos as well. And for those of you guys who are new to the channel, and this is your first time watching one of my mock drafts, the way I do my mock drafts is I put my general manager cap on for all 32 NFL teams, and I pick who I would pick at that certain spot for each team. And for the last time, I'm not trying to predict who these teams would draft. I'm picking who I would draft if I was the general manager for that team. So for some reason, I repeat that in every mock draft, and for some reason, fans always come down to the comment section and be like, "You're an idiot. The such and such team would never pick that player." Blah blah blah. I'm not trying to predict who that team would draft. I'm just predicting. I'm just choosing who I would draft if I was the general manager for that team. So I'm not trying to predict or project where these players will go. This is based on who I would draft if I was the general manager for all of these teams. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first three picks are basically the same from our previous mock drafts. Joe Burrow going number one overall to the Cincinnati Bengals, Chase Young to the Washington Redskins, and Isaiah Simmons to the Detroit Lions. Joe Burrow basically is going to start off a new era in the city of Cincinnati. They're ready to move on from Andy Dalton. Second overall pick, Chase Young, best player in this year's draft in a lot of people's eyes. And Ron Rivera, defensive-minded coach. So if I'm general manager for the Washington Redskins, I'm going to give him a defensive player since he's a defensive-minded coach. And obviously, a big need for the Washington Redskins is they want another edge rusher. And Chase Young is the best edge rusher in this draft class. Third overall, have the Lions take a linebacker out of the University of Clemson, Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons, he can play slot cornerback, he can play safety, he can play linebackers, he can play all over the field. And the Detroit Lions need a versatile player who can help them out because their defense really struggled at times last season, and they need a player who can help them on the defense side of the ball. And Isaiah Simmons can do everything. He can get after the passer, he can cover, he can tackle, he can do everything. So the Detroit Lions and Matt Patricia need a versatile player that can help this defense because this defense has a lot of holes and they have some needs. And Isaiah Simmons can do a lot of things. So with the fourth overall pick, I have the New York Giants taking offensive tackle Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas is regarded as the best offensive lineman in this draft class, and the New York Giants need to protect their franchise quarterback and Daniel Jones. And what better way to do that is to draft offensive tackle Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, he's a good run blocker. He's good in pass protection as well. He is a guy who most definitely can help protect Daniel Jones for years and years to come for the New York Giants. I got the Miami Dolphins taking quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. It's pretty much a no-brainer in my opinion. I think Tua Tagovailoa, when he's fully healthy, is the best quarterback in this draft class. And one thing that's going to help him out is that he doesn't have to start right away, so he can get drafted by the Miami Dolphins, sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year, heal up completely from his injuries that he suffered at Alabama, and he could be ready to go. Have the Chargers with a sixth overall pick taking quarterback Justin Herbert. Now, a lot of the Chargers fans keep on getting mad at me for some reason because they keep on saying Justin Herbert is a bust. But from my viewpoint, I mean, what other quarterback are you going to draft? I mean, you need a quarterback who can start day one. There's no other quarterback in this draft class at this spot who is good enough to start day one other than Justin Herbert. Tua Tagovailoa is off the board. So unless you trade up to get Tua or you somehow manage to get the number one overall pick from the Cincinnati Bengals to get Joe Burrow, I mean, there's no other quarterbacks at this point in this draft that's going to be able to start day one for you other than Justin Herbert at this point. He's the only quarterback left on the draft board that can start day one. So have the LA Chargers taking Justin Herbert with the sixth overall pick. With the seventh overall pick, I have the Carolina Panthers taking defensive lineman Doug Brown. Great way to start off the Matt Rule era by getting help up front. The Carolina Panthers have a very good defensive line, in my opinion. It's not, well, I wouldn't say great, but they have a pretty good defensive line, and a good way to help solidify that defensive line and help the rebuilding process for the Carolina Panthers under Matt Rule is drafting Derek Brown. Derek Brown is basically the most dominant defensive prospect I've seen, or the most dominant defensive lineman I've seen since Ndamukong Suh. Now he's not as dominant as Ndamukong Suh was, but he's doggone near close to it. I mean, go back and watch that Minnesota game. They're literally quadruple teaming this man. This man is basically really, really hard to block, and I think he's going to end up being a really good player. Next up, I have the Arizona Cardinals taking the offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs. Now, I don't understand why Arizona Cardinals fans keep on getting upset with me saying that Tristan Wirfs or have them drafting the offensive tackle. Listen, you don't need a wide receiver right now. The biggest hole that the Arizona Cardinals have right now is at the offensive tackle position. Protecting your quarterback is a lot more important than getting wide receivers. This draft class is fools rich with great wide receivers. You can get a good wide receiver, first round caliber wide receiver in the third round in this draft class. So it doesn't make any sense how Arizona Cardinals fans keep on getting upset about me choosing them to take an offensive tackle over a wide receiver. Then they draft like a couple of wide receivers last season, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to draft another wide receiver with the top 10 overall pick when you need to protect your franchise quarterback, because the wide receiver is not going to help Kyler Murray stay protected inside the pocket. Go back and watch those games when Kyler Murray was running for his life. Now, you Arizona Cardinals fans, I don't know what kind of football you're watching, but football is a game that's won inside the trenches. Games are win and lost decided by who wins the battle up front on the line of scrimmage. Now, with the ninth overall pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking cornerback Jeffrey Okudah. The Jaguars haven't had a good cornerback ever since Jalen Ramsey got traded near the middle of the season. Ever since Jalen Ramsey got traded, the Jaguars defense just went downhill from there. So they need another shutdown cornerback who can come in and give them similar production that Jalen Ramsey gave them. And that is Jeffrey Okudah. Now, Jeffrey Okudah isn't Jalen Ramsey, but he is similar to Patrick Peterson. He has a kind of Patrick Peterson-like build and athleticism, and I think he could be a very good lockdown cornerback for years to come. With a 10th overall pick, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting the offensive tackle Jedrick Willis out of the University of Alabama. Now, Jedrick Willis, in a lot of people's eyes, is the best pass blocking offensive lineman in this draft class. Now, the only knock on Willis is that he had a lot of false start penalties during his time for the University of Alabama. Now, me, I don't have no problem with that. I rather my offensive tackle give up a lot of false start penalties than give up a lot of sacks. So I rather have Jedrick Willis giving up a lot of false start penalties instead of giving up a lot of sacks. At the wide receiver position for the New York Jets, I have them taking CeeDee Lamb. Now, the New York Jets need a wide receiver, and I think CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in this draft class. He's good at catching the 50-50 balls. He's a great deep threat. He can also make a lot of things happen with the ball inside his hands. CeeDee Lamb to the New York Jets. With the 12th overall pick, I have the Oakland Raiders selecting Jerry Jeudy, who, in my opinion, is the second best wide receiver in this draft class. Jerry Jeudy is the best pure route runner in this draft class, and the Oakland Raiders need another target for Derek Carr, whoever would be the starting quarterback for the Oakland Raiders in 2020, to throw to on the other side of Tyrell Williams. And with Jerry Jeudy, I mean, the Oakland Raiders have a pretty good weapon offense. You have Darren Waller, you have Josh Jacobs, you have Tyrell Williams, then you end up having Jerry Jeudy. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Indianapolis Colts selecting edge rusher AJ Epinesa. He fits what the Indianapolis Colts want out of their players. They don't want the fastest, most strongest guy. They want the guy who's going to come in and give them solid production, who can come in there and do their job, and that's AJ Epinesa. He's not flashy, but he's able to get the job done. When you look at the Indianapolis Colts roster, that's basically all they have on their roster. They don't have the fastest guys. They don't have the flashiest guys, but they have guys who are able to come in there and get the job done. With the 14th overall pick, I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting offensive tackle Mekhi Becton. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could go quarterback here, but I mean, there's no quarterback really that's going to be able to start day one. So at this point, you might as well try to protect Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was sacked 48 times last season. Tampa Bay Buccaneers had one of the worst offensive lines in football, and if you want to run that Bruce Arians offense, man, you're going to have to give Jameis Winston a lot more time to drop back and throw as you let those deep routes down the field develop. So they go ahead and select Mekhi Becton. Now, Mekhi Becton is absolutely huge. I mean, this guy is gigantic. He takes up a lot of space, and I think he'll be a perfect fit in that Bruce Arians offense with how good he is at protecting the quarterback. And also, he's a very solid run blocker as well. With the 15th overall pick, I have the Denver Broncos selecting speedster out of Alabama, wide receiver Henry Ruggs III. Now, Henry Ruggs III is one of the few wide receivers who I think will end up breaking Chris Johnson or John Ross's NFL Combine record. I think Henry Ruggs is the fastest wide receiver that we've seen in the draft since John Ross. And the Denver Broncos are looking for another wide receiver to complement Cortland Sutton, and I think they want a speedster on the outside, a guy who can take the top off the defense since they have a guy in the Drew Lock who likes to throw the ball downfield and has a very strong arm. So I think Henry Ruggs with the 15th overall pick to the Denver Broncos would be a very good selection. And if I was John Elway, that's who I would choose. With the 16th overall pick, I have the Atlanta Falcons taking the edge rusher Utu Gross-Matos out of Penn State. And now I think it's not really a lot of good edge rushers in this draft class that are worth going in the first round. And Gross-Matos is the last one remaining on the board. That's the first round caliber edge rusher, in my opinion. So the Atlanta Falcons, they need a talented edge rusher. Vic Beasley, they're parting ways with him. So they need a guy who can come in and replace him. I think Gross-Matos is the guy. With the 17th overall pick, I have CJ Henderson going to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys need another cornerback. They also could use a safety, but I mean, there's not really a lot of good safeties in this draft class. And I think CJ Henderson will fill the need that they need at the cornerback position for the Dallas Cowboys. With the 18th overall pick, I have offensive tackle Josh Jones going to the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins need offensive linemen that one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, and they need to protect whoever their future quarterback is going to be, or they need to protect Ryan Fitzpatrick next season. Josh Jones is going to be able to do that. With the 19th overall pick, I have Jordan Love going to the Oakland Raiders. Now, this might be a huge surprise to you guys, but if I'm the Oakland Raiders, the Oakland Raiders aren't really sold on Derek Carr, really, from the reports I've saw. So if I'm the general manager for the Oakland Raiders, I go ahead and I select Jordan Love. And whenever you get tired of Derek Carr, you can just go ahead and insert Jordan Love into the lineup. Now, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me why the Oakland Raiders are unhappy with Derek Carr, but I guess they want a quarterback who has more upside, and Jordan Love is the quarterback who has the most potential and the most upside out of any NFL draft prospect that is the quarterback in this draft class. With the 20th overall pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw. The Jacksonville Jaguars could use some help up front. Javon Kinlaw is probably one of the most underrated players in this draft class. He was an All-American for the University of South Carolina. A lot of you guys probably don't know that, considering the fact of how bad the Gamecocks were this past season. With the 21st overall pick, I have Christian Fulton going to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have needed a cornerback for a very long time, and hopefully this is the year that they choose not to ignore the biggest need on their defense, and they go ahead and select Christian Fulton out of LSU. With the 22nd overall pick, I have T. Higgins going to the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills need a true number one wide receiver, and I believe T. Higgins can be that. He has a good enough speed to make plays downfield. He's also good enough that he can be an every down wide receiver, not just reliable on those deep pass plays on third downs, but he's a move the chains wide receiver as well. He can give you those tough third down catches. He can move the chains for you. With the 23rd overall pick, I have wide receiver Laviska Shenault going to the New England Patriots, and he fits the bill of what the New England Patriots want out of the wide receivers. They don't want the biggest or tallest wide receivers, but they want wide receivers who are quick, fast, and agile, and that's what Laviska Shenault is. He can keep the chains moving. He's similar to Julian Edelman a little bit, but a little bit more bigger and things like that when it comes to in terms of moving the chains and things like that. And he has a running back built body, so he can also make a lot of plays with the ball in his hands. With the 24th overall pick, have another wide receiver going off the board. I have wide receiver Justin Jefferson going to the New Orleans Saints, and I think it's only right since the New Orleans Saints have been looking for another wide receiver for the last couple of seasons to replace or complement Michael Thomas on the opposite side of Michael Thomas. And I think Justin Jefferson would be a nice complementary piece to complement Michael Thomas on the opposite side of him. With the 25th overall pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings selecting cornerback Trayvon Diggs. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are in cap hell. They don't really have a lot of cap space, so they're going to have to pretty much cut base with a lot of players on their roster. And one of those players is probably going to end up being Xavier Rhodes. And I can see the Minnesota Vikings replacing Xavier Rhodes with Stephon Diggs' brother and Trayvon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs hasn't really been the most happy of campers playing for the Minnesota Vikings. There's a lot of rumors about how he could end up being traded and things like that. So a good way to keep Stephon Diggs happy is by drafting his brother. It's nothing like family. With the 26th overall pick, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting halfback DeAndre Swift. Now, DeAndre Swift, in my opinion, is the best halfback in this draft class. And the Miami Dolphins fans tried to go off on me last mock draft I did about them taking a halfback, saying that they don't need a halfback because this is a pass heavy offense because they threw the ball a lot last season and things like that. And I don't know if that Miami Dolphins fan has been watching a lot of football, but the only reason Miami Dolphins threw the ball so much is because they couldn't run the ball at all. They averaged 69 rushing yards per game. So the Miami Dolphins could run the football. I'm pretty sure they would, but they couldn't run the football at all, which is why they passed the ball a lot. So that's it for that reasoning there. With the 27th overall pick, I have the Seattle Seahawks taking offensive tackle Austin Jackson. Listen, I don't know how many years the Seattle Seahawks are going to go with ignoring the biggest need on the offense, which is the offensive line. You got a good, solid, stable wide receiver. You got DK Metcalf. You got Lockett there. You got a good, solid, stable there at the halfback position. You got Carson, you got Penny there, and you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, Russell Wilson. So why not go ahead and invest and try to protect him and draft an offensive lineman, Austin Jackson? He's big, he's athletic, he's like Isaiah Riffs, but a little not as good as Isaiah Rose, but still a first round talent there. And the Seattle Seahawks need to stop ignoring the offensive line and go ahead and select one with the first round pick that they have in this year's draft class. With the 28th overall pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens selected linebacker Kenneth Murray. Now I know the Baltimore Ravens do need wide receivers, but Kenneth Murray is just too good of a player at this point in the draft to pass up on. And linebacker is a big need that the Baltimore Ravens do need to fill. And like I said earlier, it's a lot of talented wide receivers in this draft class, so the Baltimore Ravens can go ahead and get another wide receiver in the second or later rounds of this year's draft. I just think that Kenneth Murray at this point is too good of a player on the defense side of the ball to pass up on. With the 29th overall pick, I had the Tennessee Titans selecting edge rusher Caleb Vaughn Chasen. Now, Caleb Vaughn hasn't really been that experience when it comes to his experience as an edge rusher or a linebacker in general. He's like a converted halfback or something like that. So he's still a little bit raw to the position, but Mike Vrabel is a pretty good coach, so he should be able to coach him up. And within a couple of years, I think Caleb Vaughn Chasen could become a pretty good pass rusher. With the 30th overall pick, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting wide receiver Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson is one of the most underrated players in this draft class, one of the most underrated wide receivers, had an outstanding year for the Minnesota Gophers, aka hashtag roll the boat. And the Green Bay Packers, like the New Orleans Saints, have been looking for another wide receiver to complement their star wide receiver, Devontae Adams. And I think a good player that could be able to do that would be Tyler Johnson. He's big, he's physical, he can make a lot of plays in the passing game, not just vertically down the field, but he can also move the chains as well. With the 31st overall pick, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting cornerback Jeff Gladney out of TCU. And with the last overall pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting cornerback Damon Arnett. The 49ers don't really have a lot of holes that they need to fill, so I do think they could use an additional slot cornerback, and I think Damon Arnett would be a pretty good pick there. So let me know what you guys think about my mock draft down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.